Let's talk about the best user of each of the 5 major elements in the Naruto series. Now bear in mind, when I say the best user, I am not talking about the strongest character that has access to that element. Those are very different things. I'll be looking into how characters use their element transformations in a more diverse way with several different jutsus, and how creative they are with their elemental transformations. So let's start off with Earth style, shall we? We don't get a whole lot of Earth-style specialists, but obviously the best place to look at for this one is gonna be the Stone Village. And when we go there, we just have 2 options really, either Kitsuchi or Onoki. Now yes, Mu, the second Tsuchikage, also had access to Earth style because he has particle style, therefore he has Earth style by default, but we don't really see him using many Earth style jutsu, so we can't really count him here. So we have the 2 most powerful Earth style users, Kitsuchi and Onoki. Now the problem with Kitsuchi is that yes, he probably has the most impressive Earth style jutsu we ever see, which is the Earth Sandwich jutsu. And that's literally the name of the jutsu, I'm not saying it for comedic purposes. It's that jutsu Kitsuchi uses against the Geromazo, where 2 mountains essentially rise up from the ground and crush the target in between, and he also uses that to restrain the 10 tails later on in the war, which is very impressive to say the least. It's by far the most gargantuan Earth-style jutsu and one of the most gargantuan jutsus in the whole series. However, that's pretty much what he does. I mean, we kind of see him using a few Earth-style barriers here and there, but that's not a big deal. Onoki, on the other hand, has so many interesting options for Earth-style. The lightweight boulder jutsu and the heavyweight boulder jutsu are extremely potent jutsus. They may not seem like it at first, but they are amazing. The heavy boulder weight can essentially paralyze you for the duration of the fight if Onoki touches and uses the jutsu against you. He does that against Mu when Naruto lands the Rasengan and immobilizes him, but Mu managed to use the fission jutsu to essentially escape Onoki before Onoki could touch him and use the heavy boulder jutsu. But still, if you touch someone and they're not extremely physically strong, they're gonna be paralyzed. Onoki can also use that jutsu to enhance the power of punches from himself or from other people. He uses that to break the second Mizukage's clam when his regular Earth-style punch alone couldn't do it, and he also used that to enhance the Raikage's punches in the fight against Madara. The lightweight boulder jutsu is the counterpart to the heavyweight boulder jutsu. Onoki touches something and he becomes light. Now this is much more for a support purpose in the fight, but still it's a very powerful jutsu. He made the Raikage so much faster by using that jutsu on him, and the Raikage was already extremely fast. So, you can make people faster. He also made Gaara-san faster when they were fighting against Madara, which made Gaara a much more formidable threat, and he also decreased the weight of Madara's meteor so much, they managed to stop it. Well, the first one at least. Onoki also has access to the Stone Golem, which is very impressive, this large humanoid creature that it can attack and defend. He used that in the fight against Madara, and he also uses that to save the Raikage, for example, when Madara caught him in a genjutsu. And even though we never see Onoki using the Earth Sandwich jutsu, the size of the particle-style jutsu he used to destroy the Susanoo clones when they were trying their desperate attempt to destroy Madara in the end of the fight is pretty damn massive, which leads me to believe he would probably be able to use a jutsu with that magnitude in Earth style as well. I mean, the Earth Golem's already pretty damn massive, it's just that it wasn't very effective because Onoki was fighting against Madara, but if you throw that against a regular ninja, what are they going to do? That massive Stone Golem by itself is already going to be a problem for even Kage-level opponents if Onoki uses it against them. So because of Onoki's versatility with Earth style, and also because of how broken the heavy and lightweight boulder jutsus are, I'm gonna have to give Onoki the title of best Earth style user in the series, which is fitting, right? The leader of the Stone Village being the strongest Earth style user just makes sense. Moving on to Wind style. Now, this one's probably going to be a little bit controversial, because, yes, Naruto, the main character of the series, is a user of Wind style. But the problem with Naruto is that he basically only knows one Wind style jutsu, which is Wind style Rasen Shuriken, which just so happens to be the strongest Wind style jutsu, but that's the only jutsu he knows. I mean, technically he used Wind style Rasengan a couple of times, one in a flashback against Kakashi when they clashed Rasengans, and one in conjunction with Yamato and his water style to stop Cox's fire wind style combination. So if you're trying to force something here, you can say Naruto knows 2 wind style jutsus, but that's still not a lot. And yes, even though wind style Rasen Shuriken is one of the most powerful jutsus in the series and definitely the strongest wind style jutsu in the series, this is not enough for me to call Naruto the best wind style user in the series. It would be a disservice to other wind style users and wind style specialists. So who else do we have for wind style? Well, we have people like Baki and Temari, and obviously they are good wind style users, but they still lack a little bit of that sauce. Unfortunately, Temari doesn't get a lot of screen time after Naruto Part 1, and that's really sad because she's the best girl, but I think I have the answer, and many of you guys are not gonna like that. The best wind style user in the series is another Kage, the 6th Hokage, Danzo Shimura. You have to give it to him. He was fighting against Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke with wind style alone pretty much, and Izanagi, but for offensive purposes, just wind style. And he could do a billion different things with it. Wind bullets, massive wind blades that he spat and cut through the air. He could spit massive gusts of wind. His summon Baku could almost suck away the Susanoo out of Sasuke with wind style. And Danzo used that in combination with his own wind style to almost break through Sasuke's Susanoo. And he could also infuse his kunai with wind style, creating a much bigger blade. He also has some very interesting usages of lower level jutsus in wind style, like the one he used to propel himself in the air by blowing the air, you know? And no, none of those jutsus are more powerful than wind style Rasen Shuriken, but as I said before, I'm not ranking the strongest users of wind style and other elements, I'm ranking the best users. And Danzo is definitely better at wind style than Naruto is. Moving on to water style. And this one may be controversial as well, because many of you are probably thinking, well, obviously this one is Tobirama, right? But really, is he Tobirama? Is it him? What has Tobirama ever done with water style that's very impressive? In the fight against Hiruzen, for example, back in the tuning exams when Tobirama was in Edo Tensei, the most impressive water style feat Tobirama did was using water style out of nowhere, you know, creating water without a water source. That's hailed as a massive feat. The Ambus watching are flabbergasted by Tobirama using water without a water source. But later in the series, obviously this isn't a big deal at all. In the fight against Madara, for example, when Madara just shows up in the work, there's a platoon of Fodder Mist ninjas that use water style jutsus without a water source to counter Madara's fire style. So yeah, Kishimoto changed his mind about the power ceiling in the Naruto-verse, but that makes Tobirama's water style feats pretty pathetic, to be fair. I would say even Kakashi's water style feats in the Land of Waves against Zabuza in their first fight are much more impressive than Tobirama's in the tuning exams. Yes, Kakashi uses a water source to create his water style jutsus, but his jutsus are much more massive. We have the water style dragons that Zabuza and Kakashi clash against each other, and then we also have the water vortex, which Kakashi uses to beat Zabuza, and that thing takes over the entire forest. Tobirama's jutsus and the rooftop there in the arena are nothing compared to that, and Tobirama is said to be the water style specialist. Then again, in the war when he comes back via Edo Tensei and fights against Jubito and everything, he uses everything but water style. Well, technically he uses water style in the war twice to no effect whatsoever. He first uses water style to try and release Naruto from the clutches of the Divine Tree and fails miserably, and then he uses water style to try and distract Madara as Sasuke's jumping down to try and catch him from behind, but Madara uses the Susanoo hand, blocks it no problem, stops Sasuke with Limbo, transforms him into a kebab. So no guys, Tobirama is definitely not the strongest water style user in the series. The strongest water style user in the series is obviously, without the shadow of a doubt, Kisame Hoshigaki. He can also use water style without a water source. As a matter of fact, in the first fight he has in Naruto Shippuden against Team Guy, using a 30% body double, he produces a massive lake to start off the fight, making the terrain favorable for him. He has access to water clones, which is something most water style users are gonna have anyways, but Kisame's water clones are quite powerful, and they managed to retain Tenten, Rock Lee, and Neji, a Jonin, in their water prisons as the real body double Kisame was fighting against Guy. He could use the regenerating water sharks that gave Guy a lot of trouble and forced him to go straight into the 6th gate, and that was just Kisame at 30%. Later on, when he fought against Killer Bee and stomped Killer for B, he managed to use this massive water sphere that covered the entire forest and made it impossible for B to escape. In the fight against Guy, he managed to create a tsunami made out of water sharks that would have been a lot of trouble if Guy didn't have access to Asakujaku and counter it. And Kisame has access to the most powerful water-style jutsu in the series, which is the Great Shark Bomb he used against Guy's Hirodora. And that jutsu may not seem very powerful because he got defeated by Hirodora, but that's not really fair. First, because Hirodora in of itself is already an extremely powerful jutsu. The blast that Hirodora yields is about the size of a large Bijudama explosion. You can see it compared to the size of the Turtle Island when Guy uses it against Kisame there. But also, it's not fair to pair up the Hirodora against the Great Shark Bomb because the Hirodora is not ninjutsu and the Great Shark Bomb is tailor-made to counter ninjutsu. It's a water-style jutsu that consumes any ninjutsu thrown against it and becomes more powerful through consuming it. But because the Hirodora was a physical manifestation of my Guy's power of youth, essentially, the Great Shark Bomb couldn't absorb it and become more powerful. But can you imagine if Kisame used that Shark Bomb against a Bijudama, for example? The water shark would just simply eat the Bijudama, become so much more powerful and explode against whoever tossed it against Kisame. It's very unfortunate for him that he got to fight against my Guy, the worst possible opponent for him, and he forced Guy to go to the 7th gate to defeat him in a weakened state. Yes, when Kisame fought against Guy in the Turtle Island, he wasn't in that weakened, skinny, malnourished state because he had absorbed some chakra, but obviously he wasn't at full power either. And forcing Guy to go to the 7th gate with water style alone is extremely impressive. Oh yes, obviously the Samehara helps Kisame a lot in his fights, but the Samehara essentially just drains chakra of his enemies so that Kisame can use water style jutsus. And his water style jutsus are amazingly powerful and versatile, so he's definitely the best water style user in the series. Moving on to fire style. And this is famously known as the useless style in the series because nobody ever gets hurt by fire style. It's kind of a shonen trope that fire doesn't hurt, which is kind of carried into the Naruto series, and it's unfortunate. And we also have a lot of characters that use fire style, and some very important characters at that. But I'm gonna have to give the title of best fire style user to the one character who kinda hurts people with his fire style, even if they're background characters. And it's going to be Madara Uchiha. Now, when you're introduced as the most powerful Uchiha that has ever lived, and when you go to fight, your first move is to use a fire-style jutsu of a magnitude we had never seen before, that forces an entire Mist Village Shinobi platoon to use water-style jutsus to counter your jutsu by itself, that is quite impressive. After all, water has a massive advantage against fire, and they needed a platoon of mist ninjas to stop the first jutsu Madara ever throws. Because yeah, in the manga, the first thing he does in the fight against the Alliance is Fire-style Majestic Destroy Flame, and it's already the largest Fire-style jutsu we've ever seen. Maybe you could argue Jiraiya's Fire-style jutsu in combination with Gamabunta's Oil in the three-way deadlock was larger than Madara's Majestic Destroy Flame, but also that was Fire-style aided by Oil, and a lot of Oil at that. So it wasn't just Jiraiya's Fire-style, and I would argue Gamabunta did most of the work for the massive fireball they created. He has more extremely powerful fire-style jutsu, such as Majestic Destruction, which he uses to choke the 5 Kage into almost death. If Onoki hadn't woken up from the power of Plot and flashbacks, they would have died there. And yes, he used that jutsu in conjunction with the wood-style Pollen, but it helped out in that situation, and it's also a large-scale fire-style jutsu. He has the Dragon Flame release, where he spits smaller fire-style projectiles that are shaped like dragons that can bite you and stuff and burn, obviously. And they actually managed to burn Tsunade when he used it against her. I mean, she heals the burns because she can regenerate and stuff, but it still hurts someone! And we all know that fire-style dealing damage is not a natural occurrence in the Naruto series. And he also has a very cool fire-style jutsu that's very much overlooked, that he only uses once, which is the Hiding in Ash and Dust jutsu, where Madara essentially spits fire and ash all around himself, exploding people outwards, burning them in the process, and also using the ash to hide and reposition himself if Madara needs to do so. He used that jutsu against Naruto and Sasuke, the two main characters of the series, and the jutsu worked. works. So yeah, we have other strong fire style users like Sasuke, for example, and even Jiraiya and Hiruzen, but they never do stuff as impressive as Madara does. So Madara is the best fire style user in the series, and also probably the most versatile, to be fair. Moving on to lightning style. Probably my personal favorite element. Now, we first have to look at the Raikages. Obviously, right? They are lightning style specialists. Everything they do is based around lightning style, and yes, we only see the 3rd and 4th Raikage fighting, but I guess the other Raikages wouldn't be too different. And the problem with the Raikages is that, yes, they are very powerful, and the lightning style they use is strong, but the versatility isn't really there. Like, yeah, the lightning style armor provides them with great speed and defensive ability, especially when it comes to the 3rd Raikage. It's almost impossible to penetrate his defenses, and also his offensive jutsu is extremely potent with a 1-finger spear. However, that's pretty much it, right? It lacks a little bit of variety, even though they are ranked among the strongest lightning style users in the series. But we have 2 more lightning style users that are worth mentioning here. Kakashi and Sasuke, obviously. They both have access to the Chidori or Raikiri, and they can create variants of said jutsu. Kakashi's variants are the Lightning Hound, which he only uses it once against Tendo Pain, and Raiden, which he uses to destroy the chakra limbs the tail beasts are using against them in the War Arc. Kakashi also has a Lightning Shadow Clone, which is very powerful. Not just because it's a shadow clone, so it's useful by default, but also because when you destroy it, it shocks you and it paralyzes you. And yes, Kakashi only used that once in the series, at least when it comes to the manga. He uses it one more time in the anime against Obito, but that doesn't happen in the manga. However, when he uses the Lightning Shadow Clone against Pain, that paralyzes the Asura Path when he pierces the Lightning Shadow Clone, allowing Choji and Choza to get it. I mean, they don't completely destroy it because the Asura Path comes back in the end of the fight, but it's a very good jutsu. And let's be real here, just the Raikiri by itself is already pretty damn strong. Kakashi can also infuse lightning into kunai and other implements, giving him a lot of overall versatility, much more than the Raikages, for example. Now, is he a better lightning style user than the Raikages? I don't know, it's difficult to say. When Sasuke used his Chidori against the Raikage, for example, it didn't do a whole lot of damage because of the Raikage's lightning armor, so maybe you could argue that the Raikages are still better at lightning style than Kakashi's because their lightning style managed to counter Kakashi's jutsu. However, we still have one more lightning style user to go through. Sasuke, which also has access to Chidori and several variants, more than Kakashi actually. He can use the Chidori needles to attack with pinpoint accuracy at a range, the Chidori spear and the Chidori sword, which he essentially extends his Chidori into a lightsaber-like blade that can be pretty damn long and that cuts really well. It cut through the entire tail of the A-tails, and Sasuke also has the ability to do ramifications of that blade, which he uses against that Itachi clone. And yeah, if you do that, if you pierce your lightning spear into someone and do those ramifications, I don't see how anybody is surviving that. That's absolutely brutal. Sasuke also cuts Jubidara in half with a Chidori sword. Not his regular metal sword enhanced by lightning, no, just an extended Chidori that he uses as a sword. And think about this. This is 10 Tails Madara, one of the most powerful beings in existence, and Sasuke casually cuts him in half with a basic nature transformation. Meaning that yes, even though lightning is one of the 5 regular transformations, Sasuke still managed to make it very relevant fighting against godlike characters. Sasuke can infuse his sword with lightning, he can infuse his own body with lightning, he can create streams of lightning in the Chidori stream around himself, and even on the ground, he can infuse his lightning on shurikens as well, and Fuma shurikens, so he already has a lot of versatility. However, Sasuke has the lightning X factor, so to speak, because he has the 2 most powerful lightning style jutsus in the series, and that's not even up for debate. First, he has Kirin. One of the coolest, if not the coolest jutsu in the series, and also extremely powerful, managed to explode the entire Uchiha hideout when he used it, and also an extremely versatile and powerful jutsu for you to use just for a situational purpose. Because yes, even if you are out of chakra, you can still use that jutsu. You just have to spit some fire into the sky and form some clouds, and essentially harness the power of nature itself. The lightning created by the clouds and throw them back into Earth in the form of this massive Kirin, a jutsu that's so fast it is said to be impossible to dodge. Now, yeah, you may say this jutsu is not as powerful because you need a fire style jutsu to set it up, but no! You can still do it if the sky is, cloudy and tempestuous. You don't have to set it up that way. And in the Tenchi Bridge arc, we see that Sasuke forms the Kirin sign, which means that he probably can do the jutsu without the fire style setup. Now, maybe there was an oversight by Kishimoto and he kind of changed his mind. Maybe. But regardless, even if Sasuke needs to use a fire style jutsu to set it up, that's not a massive setup. A lot of people say, Kirin is really hard to set up, man. Oh god, you can't use that to debate versus battles and stuff, but really? Is it really that difficult? Just spitting a fireball into the sky? I don't see that as much of an issue. Like, sure, you can try and disguise it like Sasuke did, as if he was trying to hit Itachi in the fight against Itachi, and that's how Sasuke sets up Kirin in the fight against Itachi, and Itachi doesn't even realize what Sasuke's doing, but Sasuke has access to it, and he also has fire style that enables him to use this lightning style jutsu. So obviously it counts, and because you don't even need chakra to use that jutsu, and the jutsu is so fast and powerful, it's obviously something worth mentioning. And then Sasuke also has the most powerful lightning style jutsu, Indra's Arrow! Oh yes, this jutsu is much more situational because Sasuke needs the chakra of all 9 tail beasts absorbed into his Susanoo to channel that chakra into this lightning style arrow that explodes like, you can see the freaking explosion above the valley of the end here, it's crazy. And yeah, obviously Sasuke only uses this jutsu one time, and it's very likely he'll never be able to use it again because the situation that allowed him to use that jutsu is probably never gonna happen again, but he was still able to use that jutsu, meaning that he's a great lightning style user, just like he's able to use Kirin to produce that jutsu to master the power of lightning from the clouds. And added to that, with all of Sasuke's Chidori variants, the way he uses lightning to surround his body and even protect himself, he just has a lot of versatility as well on top of the most powerful lightning style jutsu. So yeah, Sasuke is going to be the best lightning style user in the series. Watch this other video right here for more cool Naruto content. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about my picks? Definitely like the video, please, it helps me a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, and ring notifications so you always know when the videos come out. Thank you so much for watching.